Senate and House committees are in the thick of discussions for the Bangsamoro Basic Law. There has been much debate about peace and security issues, but what are the implications of the measure on economic growth in Mindanao? Now, here to talk about his experience as an investor in Mindanao and as a member of the Peace Council, businessman John Perrine. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, Ron.
Okay, I want to know about the business investor's perspective, mostly actually a personal experience there. You put up a company and dealt with the residents there, and you had this, you call it a personal conversion. But let's talk about that conversion first. From what stand to what stand?
First of all, Ron, I just want to explain a little bit of my background, because the question is, how did I come to be there to begin with? Standing in the middle of Moto land. So I was born to an American father and a Filipina mother. Had two citizenships, but I come to believe that everything you do in life should be done with commitment, and that commitment live with passion. Passion is from the heart, and you can't live passion with a divided heart. So at a certain point, I decided to have an undivided heart as a Filipino, and I surrendered my American citizenship. So that's where I am today. So what brought me into the Bangsamoro, or Maguindanao, was that when I went to Bukidnon in 1975, I met someone who has passed away since then. His name is Roy Tunggol. He later became Balak Islam, later. But he was a very good friend. So when our company, which is in bananas, we started in 1992 in Davao, was looking for expansion, he came to me and he started talking, John, there's plenty of land in Maguindanao. And I told him, Ray, I don't care. It's a Muslim area. So, but he was a friend, so he kept pestering, just send the technical guys. So I sent the technical guys. They came back, beautiful soil, water, sunshine, everything. And I thought, Ray, still, I don't care. It's a Muslim area. Okay, so finally he said, John, just meet this Datu Toto Paglas once.
Datu Toto Paglas.
Yes.
Right.
And
I was one of two people who caused that conversion.
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And I won't bug you anymore. So being a good friend who could bug me by coming up to my house at dinner and not leaving until breakfast the next morning, that was well appreciated. Kind of a friend, So anyway, I went to meet Dr. Toto, on his soil in Datu Paglas, Maguindanao. He's my height, so we were standing about 3 feet apart from one another, and really eye to eye. Going backwards a little bit, I had been a very bad boy in my past life, but I came to the Lord in 1991, committed my life to Him, which is still a process of unraveling your bad boy days. But anyway, that was 91. And it was 1996 when I was standing in front of Dr. Toto Paglas. So one of the Lord's commands is to be truthful always. So without having that background, I wouldn't have been truthful. And where I was truthful is I just told him, Dato, I also grew up in Mindanao. And what I learned is the only good Muslim is never to trust a Muslim, and the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim. Why will I trust you? And I just said it straight out from my heart. And he answered back. He didn't break gaze. He didn't look to the side, and he didn't blink an eye. And he just answered straight back. I will never ask you for more than what we agree. I will protect your investments and your people. I commit this to you by my heart. And sometimes when someone talks to you, it came from deep within their heart. I knew that at that instant. It's the first time I looked at him and I saw a man who I'd like to have beside me if I was in a life and death situation, a man I could trust completely. I didn't see a Muslim anymore. I saw a man. I stuck my hand out and said, we're coming in. That was the beginning. So it was the first time that my personal prejudice against Muslims dropped.
Because of one man?
Because of one man. I spoke to him truthfully. He should have shot me. Normally that could have been a reaction.
With that statement that...
He had a 45 here.
That's kind of scary, right? Yeah.
And that was a war zone. That was an area known, people passing on the highway didn't want to, it was like running the alley, you had to get through. Otherwise you might be carnapped. So it was a dangerous area.
Okay, but that was, again, that was just one person. We're talking about a whole area. You're going to put up a whole company there. you'll be dealing with the residents and, of course, a security concern. You still pushed through.
Yeah.
And you still expanded, actually.
Yes. Yeah, the second step, of course, was he's just one man, but the area was under the control of the MILF.
Right.
So I requested.
Was Datu Toto a member of the MILF?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, he was a nephew of the late Chairman Salamat.
Okay.
Yeah, so quite close. So I asked for a meeting with the chairman to confirm that
you asked for a meeting with Chairman Najim Salamat?
Yes.
The founder of the MILF?
Yes. To confirm that we were really welcome as a Christian investor coming into MILF territory. So it was arranged, and I went to see him. It was 1996 in Camp Abu Bakar. So I went up to see him, and it was supposed to be a short meeting of 20 minutes to confirm, yes, you're welcome. But when I met with him, I told him, you know, Chairman, I wouldn't be here except by the hand of Allah, of God, because I was prejudiced against Muslims. And I told the story, so I'm here because I was moved here by God. So then we ended up having a 4-hour discussion on God. He was a very spiritual man. Yes, yes, 4 hours. And what he ended up saying in the end is that we cannot have peace without development. So we must protect your investment, because if you succeed, maybe others will follow. If you fail, no one else will come. So we will protect you.
If you succeed, maybe others will follow. And that's where you got the indication that they were open to this business expansion in their area. Were there any agreements made?
No agreements,
just security concerns, what they may get from you, or were they just after the development of the area, which could bring peace to a wider area in the future?
You know, that was 1996.
That's right.
Okay, the commitment was we will protect your investment. 2000 was the first all-out war under Arab.
That's right.
Okay, to protect our investment, he declared no-fire zone, peace zone. Their forces withdrew from our area, so we had uninterrupted business operations through the entire conflict. 2003 was the second all-out war.
Wait, we have to highlight that.
Yeah.
He withdrew his troops.
Yes.
There was an all-out war from the government, but
Yes.
he didn't give a command for the MILF to retaliate or come head-to-head with the government force.
No, they fought elsewhere in other areas.
Right.
But in our area, they declared it a peace zone. No conflict, to protect the investment. In 2003, the same thing happened under GMA. It was an all-out war. If you remember, there was a bombing of Bulyok in, I think that was February 11, 2003, the shelling. And an all-out war ensued. They declared again our areas of investment to be peace zones. So we had uninterrupted business operations over the last 19 years that we've operated there. They've never asked us for any donation. Which is again, no revolutionary tax, no donation. And they've been very, very consistent in maintaining that policy. Chairman Salamat passed away in 2003. He was succeeded by President Al-Haj Murad.
That's right.
And Chairman Murad said the same thing. You know, we cannot sustain peace without development. And we need more projects like yours to be beacons of hope for our people.
They didn't get anything from you?
No, never, nothing. And another point I'd like to make, you know, when people question, can we trust the MILF? I'm not speaking in opinion, I'm just speaking from our actual experience. 19 years that this is what we've experienced. And if you note, after the all-out war of 2000 and after the all-out war of the year 2003, normally a guerrilla force would resort to diversionary tactics. Bombing of civilian structures, bombing of bridges, bombing of power stations, bombing of bus stations, in other words, to divert the military attention. Of course, there was a cry from some of the combatants to do exactly that, because they were under a full-scale attack. Chairman Salamat and then Chairman Murad both held them in and said, no, we cannot do that, because if we do that, we will be seen as a terrorist organization. We'll have no chance for a legitimate peace for all the people of the Bangsamoro.
This was what year again?
Following 2000, the all-out war of Arab in 2000, and following the all-out war of GMA in 2003. So I think the point that has to be appreciated is that if you look historically, there were no bombings that followed those two all-out wars. That's not by coincidence. There were no bombings because the MILF leadership said, no, we will not do that. So when people ask, can you trust them, I think you have to look back at history, current events, and see that actually they held these terrorist activities or actions in check.
And at the very least, since 2000, since that all-out war was declared by former President Joseph Estrada, they were actually thinking about peace.
They've been thinking about peace and consistently working for it. So our experience has been that, but of course I'm saying our experience, but that's an experience that I see today, having experienced my conversion. If I was still the same guy that I was back in 1995, I would be looking at these Muslims in the same way. Can't trust them.
Yeah.
So I think the issue today is really an issue of the heart. You know, no matter how you negotiate a BBL and have all the lawyers look at all the provisions, in the end, it comes down to a hard decision. Am I willing to trust the people who are signing on the other side of the table? And all I can say is that for 19 years, we've been inside Maguindanao and we expanded. We have projects in Wao and in Bumbaran, Lanao de Sur, and we're expanding again today. We have ongoing plantings in Talayan and going to Bukidnon. So this is happening today. So our actual experience over 19 years is that they've delivered everything they said they would. They've never asked for anything more. They protected our investments. Where they could have resorted to bombing after these two all-out wars, they didn't, because they were interested consistently in achieving a legitimate peace. That's been our experience, actual experience on the ground. I go around without any security.
And you're here with us now as witness to proof that success is possible.
Yeah, success is possible.
In Maguindanao and MILF-controlled areas. But were there any other companies there expanding, also protected by the MILF, just for the development in the area?
You know,
you may be lucky. I mean, you were able to talk to Dato Toto Paglas and Chairman Salamat as well.
Yeah,
I guess we want to know if that holds for the others as well.
Yeah, so I think the question today is, can this be replicated? And is there someone from the MILF who will stand up as a partner for any potential investors?
Exactly the questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah, so, you know, within the mechanism of the peace agreement, there's a Bangsamoro Development Agency, BDA. And this is a development agency that's a little bit unusual because the directors, many times, of government agencies are just picked up. But these are directors who have been committed to the cause for decades. I mean, they're men who have you know, commitments and real hearts of passion for the cause. So when you look at the Bangsamoro Development Plan, it's reflective of those basic universal values. And these are the men who now have stood up and say that we will be the partner of any investors who would like to come in. We will help put their feet on the ground. We will help negotiate with local leadership. We will represent their interests so that they're not alone. We will help them adjust to the culture. So I think the BDA is, as an instrument of the MILF and representing the leadership, is standing up to be the partner of potential investors.
Okay.
And this will be institutionalized.
As part of the Peace Council, what are the pertinent points that maybe sticky points that you saw from the BBL and some of the recommendations of the economic cluster?
Yeah. I'm going into real waters here when you ask a question like that. So I think Chief Justice Divide answered many of those questions because they were primarily in regards to constitutionality and
that's right,
and the police, and these are things that he's discussed. I think very thoroughly.
But from what you saw, there's nothing in the BBL that could stop economic development in the region.
No.
And it could be expanded.
Yes.
And it could be developed. It has potential.
Yeah. Big potential.
Okay. The issue now is, and again, maybe you have answered it a while ago in some of your statements, but how do you convince investors? From what it seems, even without the BBL, investors can come in and help in development in the area, which could lead to peace. But how do you convince other investors to come in and, hey, I'm here? That's the first thing you can do. I'm here. I'm proof that a business can be successful in these areas. How do you encourage them to come in?
You know, business investors, in the end, they look at what are they investing in, then versus the risk. Okay,
Yes,
so
of course.
commercial banks have declared the Bangsamoro non-bankable. Okay, so that's your first problem. However, I think the Philippines is lucky that both JICA and the World Bank have offered to put up a $250 million private sector investors fund, facility, loan fund, which will have, let's say, terms of 20 to 25 years with 80% project financing against 20% equity. In other words, the risk is being leveraged down to the point that some businesses are willing to take the step and go with it. So this is a fund that's still being negotiated. It's not yet been finalized. It's now between World Bank and JICA, and I understand that they've offered it. So it's with the DOF and Land Bank to iron out the details. So, but basically, on the promise of that fund coming through, for example, I've gone out on behalf of the Bangsamoro and the armed government today. The armed government today is a functioning government also. So I've gone out on behalf of the armed government and the MILF both to look for other investors. And what people won't believe, for example, is that if this fund comes through, March 26, a company called Volcafe, ED&F Man, they're one of the world's largest traders in sugar and coffee, green coffee, but they made an investment to invest in 4,000 hectares of coffee. That's 3,800 hectares in Maguindanao, 200 hectares in Lanao del Sur, and that's a $52 million project. They're coming in with or without BBL.
Wow.
So, yeah, wow. So
Actually, I was going to ask for as a final question: Is the BBL going? The passage of the BBL going to be a real big factor for other investors? Okay, you said that a company is coming in even without the BBL, but with the passage of the BBL, would this be a big factor in having more investments and having more businesses coming in?
I think for the other 95% of investors, that's the factor. Yes. They have to see that. You know, there's always 5% who are willing to take risk and go with it.
Right.
Okay, that's the 5%
It always starts with the few.
Yeah, but the 95% have to see the structure, you know, of laws, body of laws, and that's what the BBL represents. How do we function within that environment? That's it.
Okay, John Perrine, member of the Peace Council, thank you very much for telling us about your experiences.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.